Welcome back to Podiatry Marketing. I'm your host, Jim McDannald. Joined as always my trusty co-host, Tyson Franklin. Tyson, what's going on today?
I'm just living life and loving it, Big Jim. It is great. I was talking to someone the other day, and your name has come up 3 times in the past week. Just where I know somebody had written a glowing review of the podcast and said it was absolutely fantastic. And my responses are going to be, of course it was, of course it is. And then just 2 other people just made reference that they go, when are you talking to Big Jim next? And they just refer to you as Big Jim.
Well, I guess I'm internationally known as Big Jim, so I guess I have you to thank for that.
Yeah, Big Jim Mac. All of, what are you, 6'9", 250 pounds.
320, yeah, 6'9", 320. Just a mountain of a man.
Okay, let's get on to today's topic.
Yeah. So what are we gonna
We
jump into today?
Today I'm going to talk about standing out. I did a talk back in 2016 or 17. I actually did a talk on the standing out up here in Cairns, and it went really, really well. So I thought it'd be a good topic to talk about now. And basically, all standing out really is trying to be noticed. And it's the only way you're going to get noticed is if you move away from the crowd. Stop doing what everybody else is doing. And I know as podiatrists, sometimes they get a bit paranoid about, I don't want to stand out because of, I don't know if you have the saying, probably may not in Canada, tall poppy syndrome.
They get cut.
Get cut. Yeah, and that happens a lot. Is in Australia, everyone will cheer somebody on, but if they start to their head rises a little bit higher than everybody else, they're concerned that people start taking pot shots at them and want to take them down. So people are a little bit concerned. But I think if you want to stand out, it's not so much standing ahead of the crowd, but you've got to move away from the crowd, which I think is a little bit different.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I think a lot of people just they want to kind of blend in. They don't necessarily want to make any waves, and that's not a great way to gain visibility for your expertise and kind of stand out to the type of patients you want to treat. So yeah, I'm excited to jump in and learn more about what you think about this topic.
Yeah, and like I just said, the thing that I think people can grasp this idea, it's not standing out by getting higher than them. It's just moving away from what everybody else is doing. And therefore you can stay under the radar, but you can still move away from what the crowd is actually doing. But it's in our natural instinct to want to blend in. It's in our DNA. And if you stand out, yeah, in the past, things could actually happen. So in our DNA was always just to blend in. You didn't go wandering through the jungle wearing bright orange clothes because you stood out and animals would find you and they would eat you. And everybody knew that. So the idea was you need to blend in, keep a low profile, don't make too much noise. And I do think it's actually ingrained into us. And the other part people get concerned about if they stand out is, what if I look stupid? Or what if I fail? What if I go and do something and stand out and I fail and everybody sees that? How am I gonna look? Once again, I might actually look stupid.
Yeah, when you stand up for something, or you're different than someone else, or you're like you said, you don't have to put anybody down in order to stand out. But it isn't always in our nature to try to kind of bring attention to ourselves. Like you said, in the past, that's been a really bad thing. So, no, for sure.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing this talk and I asked the crowd, put your hand up if you love public speaking. And there's about 250 people in the room. Nobody's put their hand up. Maybe a couple, a few people put their hand up. And I remember reading somewhere that the number one fear in Australia was public speaking at the time when I was looking at the research. Number two fear was death by fire. So people would rather die in a fire than get up and do public speaking, because the thing with doing public speaking means you stand out. So I just thought that was crazy. People would rather die in a fire than do public speaking. And you're always afraid of things you're not sure of. And standing out, if it worries you, could be one of those things. In New Zealand, the number one fear is snakes. Yeah. Funny part is they don't have any snakes in New Zealand.
They got to keep them out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like Ireland. Snakes out. St. Patrick. We did a good job there. So we tend to be a little bit afraid of things that are unknown. and we tend to be a little bit afraid about standing out because we don't know what will happen when we stand out. So I thought I'd just go over a couple of ideas that you can do that will make you stand out, but it's not about standing on a rooftop and screaming at everybody, hey, look at me. It's just doing things that are a little bit different that will make you move away from the crowd so that patients, professional referrers, non-professional referrers will notice you. So when all of a sudden they're thinking of a podiatrist, they will think of you first.
No, that sounds great. I think it makes me think a lot about the Seth Godin, Purple Cow,
Oh, yeah.
so how can you be memorable? It's not necessarily about being braggadocious or putting yourself above everybody else, but just how do you stand out? Like what makes you different and what are those differentiators that, will make a difference to the people you want to treat?
And you've seen sports people will do this sort of thing where to just move themselves away from the crowd, they might just have a different haircut. And also it makes them memorable. And I'm not saying that every podiatrist, well, if you're listening to this, I'm not saying that you should go and get a mohawk. Not condoning a mohawk at all at the moment.
Have you ever had a mohawk?
No, never. Now look at my hair. Does it look like I've had a mohawk for a while?
I didn't
No.
say like this week. In your youth, in that wild Australian youth of yours, because
Oh,
I
yeah,
I
of
once had a
course.
mohawk.
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, in the 80s, it was probably blue or something like that. But it'd probably be like I was able to wear it relatively normally at different occasions. But I know at certain parties, yeah, you'd move it all in towards the middle and have this nice looking mohawk going down there. But it wasn't one of those crazy ones where I totally just shaved the side of my head like one of the last Mohican. It
I
wasn't
see.
that crazy. But I have seen people do it. But I'm thinking something it's a little bit more subtle. And some of these ideas I'm going to share with you are things, some of them I've done and some I've seen other people do, but it makes them stand out. And one of the best ones was the Find the Toenail Cake, where they drop it into a doctor's surgery and it just have their thing. So, ABC Podiatry, Find the Toenail Cake, and they just deliver it. Now, that makes you stand out. If people are wondering, is there a toenail in this cake or not? But the advantage of doing this too is if you decided to do this on April Fool's Day, and if people eventually click that it's April Fool's Day, then it would become quite funny, but it would also very much stand out. And the business that I saw do this was over in America. They mentioned about each year when they did this, how many times photographs would get taken of their Find the Toenail Cake and get posted around the place, all over the place. But that made them stand out from a lot of other podiatry clinics.
Yeah, it definitely is an original idea. Like when you say like find the toenail cake, I'm still trying to like picture what that means.
Find the toenail in the cake.
Like, do you send this to a patient? Is it like in your office? Is it in your waiting room? Like, where is the
No, it
cake
was
at?
it was dropped it was dropped off at doctor surgeries, at professional referrers.
Okay.
Yeah, so they actually got the cake made up and they went and dropped it at a professional referrer's place on April Fool's Day.
Okay.
And the receptionist would have got it and gone, oh my God, it's a Find the Toenail Cake. Do you reckon there's really a toenail in there? Maybe a sterilized one. But it reminded me when I was a kid and they used to put coins in the Christmas pudding. Did you ever do that where you were?
No, we have like the king's cake, like in I don't know, like in sometime in January, maybe like January 5th or 6th, where there's actually like a small figurine within like a dessert, and whoever gets you know, the whoever has the piece that has the little like ceramic king in it gets to wear the crown for the rest of the dinner
Oh yeah, it was
the evening.
yeah probably something like that. It was I think it was in the trifle. It was in the trifle that they made, and then
Okay.
they put coins in it. And the idea you got it was good luck, and you kept it. But I remember my dad always telling me when I was a kid, as a story, he says, "Oh, just be careful." Remember once I swallowed a 20-cent piece, and when I went to the toilet, I got 4 fives. No, just as a kid, I believed him. And then as I got older, I realized that that was not the case. It's not how
No,
it works.
that was a joke.
That was a joke, yes. So my dad had a good sense of humor. The Another thing that I've seen people do was they take a certain photo or famous feat, and they would post that online and get people to comment. Do you know these 5 famous feet? And the one that stood out to me was once again I saw some in America doing it, and they had the 5 Disney feet: Mickey Mouse, Goofy, Donald Duck, Pluto, and might have been Minnie Mouse. And had the 5 feet all standing in a circle. They said, "Can you name these 5 feet?" So it was just a little bit silly, but it was something that nobody else was actually doing. Then from there, some other people were just posting like famous feet, and you had to try and figure out who they were, and they give hints on who these people were. And I just thought that was clever. It was something that nobody else was actually doing.
Yeah, I think it's going to appeal to different folks, and it's kind of a fun game to kind of engage with your audience and engage with some folks probably on social media or in some places where people can easily share something like that. So I can see where that would maybe catch on.
Yeah, and in our clinic in Cairns up here, we used to uh, once or twice a year we used to do movie premieres where there'd be a movie coming out, we'd hear about it, and I had a close relationship with the person who was the manager at the cinemas at the time, and he would let me know what's coming. So I used to go into the cinemas once every 3 months, and I get to watch all the previews of what was coming out. It was fantastic. Anyway, and from that, I could go, oh, I like that particular movie. And then we would put a deal together, and I would be able to book a cinema out, and I could do a movie premiere for that particular night. And it wasn't as expensive what people think. There's certain ways that you can do it where you pretty much get sponsorship at the same time. It doesn't actually cost you a lot of money. But there was one particular movie that stood out to me, and it was called The In-Laws. It was a Michael Douglas movie.
Okay.
Michael Douglas and Elliot Gould, I think. And Michael Douglas was a CIA, worked for the CIA, and and Elliot Gould was a podiatrist, I think.
Okay.
And it said one of them's used to clipping bad guys, the other one clips toenails. That was how they promoted it. That, well, not great for podiatry, but it was quite funny. And that we used to do it, like I said, once or twice a year. We picked certain movies, but that made us stand out from what every other podiatrist was doing because nobody else was doing it. And we'd invite professional referrers. We'd have patients come along. Our whole team would go along. All they'd do is walk out the front and go, "Welcome, enjoy the movie." There was no speeches. There wasn't, "Hey, send your patients to me." I didn't need to say that. They were at the movies on me. Have a good time.
Yeah, you're providing them like a memorable experience and and it sounds like a fun experience. These comedy movies and just having a good time together is worth more than it ingratiates kind of good feelings towards your practice, even if you're not out there shilling it. You're just kind of giving back and having a fun time with them.
Yeah, and if you pitch, and the reason why it doesn't cost a huge amount to put these things on, if you go to a cinema that holds 100 people and you can pack it out, that's a lot of people buying a lot of ice creams and snacks to go in the cinema. So the cinema actually likes, a screen, an actual cinema full of people because they know that generates a lot of money for them. Another thing that we used to do, or if you want to stand out, okay, some people will celebrate Christmas. They might drop off cards or gifts and things like that to professional referrers. I don't think you should because there's so many people doing that. You will just blend in. So pick another day that will actually make you stand out. We used to celebrate Australia Day, and we used to actually have a bottle of wine done up that we'd actually go and drop in, and it would say, Happy Australia Day, the one day of the year where it's okay to wear thongs. Now, if you listen to this in America, that's thongs on your feet, not thongs up your bum. But you could do either on Australia Day because we don't mind. We're very flexible. But that stood out because we knew nobody else is celebrating Australia Day with the other podiatrists towards your professional referrers and non-professional referrers. So that actually really stood out for us.
Yeah, because everyone's gonna hit up, Christmas time and New Year's.
Yeah.
Those 2 ones are just so taken that they're gonna have, like, a barrage of different gifts from different people, and it's just gonna get lost in the stack. I know that even, when I go to my family for Christmas and things, you get so much stuff you forgot who you got it from, and it's not that you're, like, ungrateful about it, but just, just the amount of gifts that are given that time of year, you're not gonna stand out. You're not gonna be memorable, so it's better to pick a different day to get that kind of recognition and that kind of remaining top of mind with those professional referrers.
Yeah, well, another day that we did was Happy 15th of April. And the reason we chose the 15th of April, because nobody else was celebrating the 15th of April. So we used it. And then
is
we'd
that
send a letter and we go, happy 15th of April. And we would drop something off. We go, at Priority Podiatry, we like to do things differently. Because nobody else celebrates the 15th of April, we thought we would. And just included a few other things. And straight away, the doctors and professional referrers, as I bumped into them afterwards, just went, why the 15th of April? And I go, well, actually, the person I heard do this idea the first time, I think it was his wedding anniversary. I said, so we just ran with it. But you could pick any particular day. And we went from the 15th of April deciding, hey, let's do Australia Day because it's at the beginning of the year, 26th of January. So let's do that instead. And we wouldn't do it on the day because it was a public holiday, but we'd do it just leading up to it.
no, that makes sense. April 15th is tax day in the US. So
Oh, right. Okay.
the account, if you have some professional accountant refers, they would probably enjoy kind of winding down a little bit after a busy tax season. But that's like at least personal taxes are usually due on April 15th.
Well, imagine if you, as a podiatry clinic, sent something in America to all the accountants in your area just before the 15th of April, celebrating Happy 15th of April Day. And they mightn't even know who you are, but it's a great way of it's a good excuse to reach out to them. And that leads on to like corporate wine. We used to do a lot of corporate wine bottles. We get cartons of them done up. We'd have our own logo on there, sometimes red wine, sometimes white wine. But we would attach a funny letter when we dropped in and go, yeah, dear Big Jim, just to let you know, I had to try a lot of bottles of wine to select this one. That's how committed I am to doing the right thing by you, and making sure that you get a good bottle. And then we'd have a bit of a spiel and we'd drop the bottle of wine. We didn't ask for anything in return. But same thing, when you bumped into these people, they would always bring up, hey, thanks for that bottle of wine. It was really good. And by the way, how many wines did you have to drink before you found this one?
Sacrifice. Yeah.
It's the sacrifices we make.
It's appreciated.
Yep, for the general public. Yeah, so you appreciate it. You haven't even got one from me, and you appreciate the effort I've gone to.
Exactly.
So, and there's other things where you can just try and be clever. Like you can do, swag with hats and pens and all that sort of stuff if you want. But there's a lot of people doing that. But if you're then going to do marketing as well, just think you want to stand out from the crowd, be a little bit different. And we had one of our best campaigns was our fungal nail ad. And it said, hear that? That's fungus eating your toenails. And then it just went on from there. And that pause was the effect, because you'd be say this is on radio, for example, and they're used to music playing and people talking, and all of a sudden this really deep voice that sort of echoed and went, hear that? That's fungus eating your toenails. And we talk about how fungus is very silent. You're not going to hear it. I remember walking down the road one day around my area, somebody driving past who recognized me, and all of a sudden they honked the horn, and I stopped and they said, and the window went down and said, hey, Tyson, you hear that? And I said, what? And they went, that's fungus eating your toenails. And they laughed their head off and drove off. So, and it was a younger person, so I knew it must have got through.
Yeah. Connecting with the kids there about fungal toenails.
Yeah. But it's trying to be just a little bit clever. If you're doing traditional marketing, or even if you're doing something online, don't just do what everybody else is doing. Try and just think outside the box a little bit more. Another audio ad we used to have was one that said, it took God 7 days to create the universe. And this voice would cut in and go, 7 days? And it takes Proarch 1 day to make your orthotics. And they go, it's almost a miracle. And then God's voice would come back in and go, no, my son, it is no miracle, but it's devilishly fast service. But anyway, something along those lines. But everybody that heard that ad loved that ad and only got one complaint, which I thought was fair enough. And it was somebody who rang up and said, oh, do you know, it actually only took God 6 days to create the universe in 1 day of rest. And I went, fair enough. I said, so in total, how many days would that have been? And they go, well, 7. Okay, exactly, including the day of rest. And I had a couple of priests in the clinic, and I ran it past them before we did it, and they went, "That is funny." They said, "That's actually really, really funny. I like that." So that was all right. And another one that I saw somebody else do, and I'm not sure where I got this from, because I got a copy of it, and it said, "Some funguses are good for your health." And then underneath it has a photo of cheese, wine, and mushrooms. And then under that it says, "Nail fungus is not one of them." And I'm thinking, that is very clever. It's very visual. You can understand how there's some good funguses and bad funguses. So what I'm trying to get through to everybody here is, don't just keep doing what everybody else is doing. If you're on social media, you see people doing these stretches and doing some other things and giving advice. If you're just going to be just like them, then you're just going to blend in and you'll be boring and beige. Try and find an angle. Try and find something that makes you a little bit more unique that you can use to your advantage. And if you can't come up with any ideas, ask Jim and I. We're full of ideas.
Absolutely.
It's I had a guy that I was doing some work with. He was a dentist, but he was right into scuba diving as well. And I said, "Well, why don't you just combine the two?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, instead of getting on a video and just giving dental advice," I said, "why not go do your diving?" I said, "Then have somebody film you, come out of the water, take your heads thing off, pull out your respirator, give a dental tip, and go, okay, until next time, put your respirator back in, thing on, and then dive back under the water." I said, "You're still giving a dental tip. You would be known as the diving dentist, the scuba diving dentist, just like you got the singing dentist." Have you ever seen the singing dentist?
I've not seen the singing dentist at all.
Oh, right. He's pretty cool. But yeah, it's sort of just be a little bit different if you want to stand out. You don't have to be crazy if you don't feel comfortable doing that. Just come up with some other ideas, but just don't be like everyone else. That's the main thing I want everyone to sort of take away from this.
No, I think you brought up a lot of good points. Like you said, you want to be memorable. How can you be remembered for your expertise and to be visible in front of the patients that you want to treat, and by standing out and by doing some different things we talked about today. I think that people that own a practice can really make that happen.
Okay, Big Jim. Until next week, au revoir.
Bye bye.
Okay, see ya.